Hi, my name is Margo Krager. I'm a shop owner, reproductionfabrics.com, and a textile historian. I'm especially interested in the printing and dyeing of cottons with an emphasis on changing dye stuffs and technology. Today's going to be about an 8-minute textile history snapshot, and I'm going to do fabric dating 1890 to 1910. I have three important dates: 1869, 1893, and 1918. This is my 42nd year in the fabric business, and many years ago I had the privilege to attend two presentations by Barbara Brackman. I think they might have been the same presentation, but they were about 3 years apart. And in the first one, she piqued my interest in fabric dating. And the second one, which might have been a repeat, but that was good, she basically laid down a sticky tape of dates, and I've been adding to it ever since. I was in a master's history program at the Montana State, and I was transferring in as many credits as I could to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I had the wonderful opportunity to take classes from not only professors there, but two professors from the University of Rhode Island. So the first date, 1869, the development of artificial alizarin. This is the dye stuff from the madder, M-A-D-D-E-R, dye plant. And depending on the mordant used, you can get pinks, rusty reds, browns, and lots of browns, almost to the black, almost, deep violets. And then there were chocolates. These are kind of special prints. They look like, they mimic the colors in a Hershey wrapper on a Hershey candy bar. So 1870, you start to see object prints. Young women were getting out and participating more in sports, sailing, golf, tennis, and eventually bicycle riding. And so they needed sportswear. And so fabric printers were offering shirtings with prints of horseshoes, anchors, tennis rackets, things like that. And these were achieved through mill engravings. Now, to print with a copper plate, 1750, the beginning of copper plate printing, copper is relatively soft metal and easy to etch out, but it wears down, and the edges of the design start to get fuzzy. So the development of a mill, either steel or zinc, you could take a copper roller that was starting to fade and refresh it. So the roller, the copper, might be a 6-inch circumference, and the mill, with the design protruding outward, would roll across that surface and refresh it. And the mill might only be an inch in circumference. 1820, 1840, this led to the development of fancy machine grounds behind the florals. And by 1870, they were using the same technology to do object prints. One of the popular ones was a Greek key design, and you see that about 1880. Mid-19th century, a gentleman in Normandy, France, Monsieur Cretonnes, started to print in the old style. He was printing on fairly rough goods, a linen hemp mixture, and he was trying to update the hand-painted chintzes that had come out of India into Europe a century and a half earlier. His design approach did not become popular in the US until after the Civil War, and even by the late 1880s, you start to see the backgrounds that are still red and rust and green. These cretonnes were used for women's wrappers. What she wore is sort of almost a house dress, before she went out and her walking suit for her day of calls or shopping. Mid-century comments on black were often from merchants, letters complaining about weak blacks. So the black print, the dyes they were using were not really strong and vibrant. So this led to the popularity of something called a shaker gray. Shaker grays are sort of 1890s to 1940, basically half black, half white, sort of a scratchy look to them often, and they were what was used for blacks. And then there were chocolates, and these were printed on a pearl gray ground, and the colors mimic the wrapper on a Hershey bar. Art Nouveau is sort of 1890, 1914. These designs were naturalistic, asymmetric, and very directional layouts. So they were popular for furnishings, things inside your house like pillows and curtains, and they were used in quilts as well, but not so much for dressmaking. Then the next key date, 1893, major economic depression. Fabric print houses went out of business. They laid off their design staff. They went to simpler designs, cheaper gray goods, cheaper dye stuff, sort of like 2008, what happened. At this time in the 1893, 600 banks closed, 15,000 American businesses went out of business, 74 railroads quit, and farms were abandoned. This date also was the development of sulfur black, a new dye stuff that gave a vibrant, deep, rich black, often associated with wild other colors, shocking pink, electric green, screaming yellows, and I would refer to these as electric seaweed designs. I also have a sample book to show you today. This is a day book, meaning they saved samples and pasted them in the book of their production that day. And it goes from 1899 to 1901. By this time, you start to see available in your catalogs to order, available in your dry goods store to buy for making garments and quilts, pretty much monochromatic prints. Simple designs, off-white on a dark background, or a shirting with a simple design on it, but still double pinks and those shaker grays. So the other key date is in arts and crafts period, 1900 to 1914. And in the US, it's referred to as prairie style architecture, very popular, especially in the upper Midwest. Think Frank Lloyd Wright and the Chicago School. A lot of the principles were based on an art movement in Great Britain. One of the major designers there was William Morris, and he was known for his wallpaper and textiles. So the World War I is the other important date, 1914 to 1918. Post-World War I, Germany had to give up some of its textile aniline dye formulas as part of war reparations. American chemists got a hold of those formulas, and they started to do these cheerful designs we often refer to as Depression-era prints. Art Deco wasn't until 1925, and the first printed fabric feed sack wasn't until 1937, and it was the Percy Kent Company that started that trend. We have paper handouts that include the timeline that we are happy to mail you. Contact us at staff@reproductionfabrics.com. There is no charge for the paper handouts. And we also have a series of fat quarter bundles, 7 different topics that illustrate this fabric dating presentation of 1890 to 1910. The stock number is 4S440V. Thank you.